Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cosmic Chit Chats with Viola and Nadi. And this is our first time recording and one of our conversations that we like to have together. And so we had one yesterday, and it was just so mind blowing and so revelationary that we said, let's do that again and record it so we can share it with whoever might benefit by a conversation that's this far out there. So, welcome.
That's what we do. Yeah. I'll launch there. Um, yeah, so Viola and I met several years ago, and together we've been adventuring on Drew Vallot's Awakening of the Illuminated Heart workshops. She leads those. She'll talk about that in a minute. But I knew an important ally on this journey when I saw one. And so I was just like, what are we doing together? Let's do it. And so it's been a couple of years, and we have together explored, I would just say the rabbit holes. I mean, you've been a main proponent of sharing information with me about what's going on in the background, in the unacknowledged realms. I don't know how best to put it. But we've been having cosmic chit chats for a long time, sort of supporting each other in the knowledge, the knowledge of perhaps our higher purpose on this planet, like looking at each other going, why are we here? It is insane here. So not only having the background of like what makes it so insane, but also, what are we doing? What's our service? Why did we come here at this time? Are we going to make it? Just all these like really rich conversations. And yesterday seemed to really combine everything because I found this video talking about humans, the trajectory that we're on, right? And that's always part of the conversation. We're sharing videos back and forth, and we're on groups and all this stuff that talks about it. But yesterday, like, okay, and yesterday was sort of the culmination of many conversations, is the point. Like, there's a lot of background. But I personally have been having a really hard time lately. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this video like actually restored my sense of purpose on the planet and why I'm here right now. And it had a really powerful effect for us. And our hope, the reason we came back to videoing this is because our hope is that it might have a positive impact on those of us right now that are struggling with like, why are we here? This What is going on? This is insane.
Yeah.
So that was our motivation. I'm feeling a lot better than I have in the past couple of weeks. I don't know, maybe people can relate to that. And I just jumped right into what we're doing. I should have said something about me, but I don't know. What should I say? A little something about me? I just wanted to give pretense for the video.
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, say something.
How about you go for a minute? Because break it up a little bit, and then I'll say something to partner up with what you do in the world.
Yeah, and also just to piggyback on that a bit, I would say that yeah, this video, when we thought that we should record this, it really is for those people far out on the fringe, and for the light workers who are here, who know that they are light workers, and who are just like, what in the world is going on, and how do we navigate this, and what is our purposes here, and we know we're here for a purpose. And so that has been, it's been maybe 7 years or so that you and I have been having conversations like this and tracking this all. And so, it might just be really far out for some people. It's kind of almost weird to make a video about it, but I think the right people would appreciate just also being a part of this conversation. It just unfolded so organically, and it always does with us. And maybe some people don't have someone else to bounce all this stuff off of, and so it seemed worthy to share for those people who maybe don't have their galactic buddy. you know. And so, so yeah, I'll introduce myself a little bit, since this, I guess, is turning into our inaugural episode of Cosmic Chit Chats, and hopefully there'll be more of them. So my name is Viola Rose. Currently, I'm based in Portland, Oregon, and I am a facilitator for Drum Below Melchizedek, and I have been facilitating Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshops for his School of Remembering since 2012. I've taught, over 80 of these workshops up and down the West Coast and in Hawaii. So I have been working with people, lots of people, for many years who want to activate their light body, connect to their higher self, learn to create reality from the heart, right? So this has been allowed me to be deeply immersed in these sort of metaphysical fronts of reality and connecting with people on deep metaphysical levels, as it has been my own journey for many, many years as well. And I have known since early on that I was not from here and not part of whatever's playing out here in some strange way, even though I am a part of it. And, even in my early 20s, I was living in ashrams in India, removing myself from this world because it didn't fit me at all. And have just been on spiritual frontiers for a long time and continuing to do that. So, I'm also a sound healer, as you can see my instruments, and just the power of sound to heal, and love to inspire people and help people who are ready to come online and maybe just need some support and help. People I think are here on this planet at this time, including myself, who don't feel like I'm here on the wheel of karma. I feel like I'm a volunteer and I'm part of this sort of ground team that are here to help support an uplifting of the planet. And all of us are just kind of wandering around, plugging in wherever we can. Some people, it's really clear what the mission is, and some people, it's not so sure, And so helping those people kind of come online to connect with their true nature, that lights me up. And then also talking about all this galactic stuff and rabbit holes of metaphysical research in the nature, the quantum holographic nature of reality, and all these things.
Awesome. That made the rabbit holes seem friendly. Yeah, the rabbit holes have been super intense. And so, I feel really grateful to have a buddy in this too. You were complete, yeah?
Yeah, and then you and I met at an Atlantean crystal grid meditation night once, doing the far out stuff, and then you invited me to come to Mount Shasta and teach one of these workshops, and back in like 2014 or something.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, similar path, but I think if I put them side by side, I might have had a little bit more mainstream programming to dig out of. I also was, I went to go study in an ashram. I've been dedicated to my inner path, my inner work, and my evolution for decades at this point. Uh, and that has really led me to a place of integration within myself. Like I knew that I had to really get in touch with my core essence and why I came here and what my purpose is. So I really used a bunch of modalities to try to do that over many years. And about 10 years ago, I took a leap of faith. I was a psychotherapist in the mental health field for over a decade, and really that's what I meant, steeped in that programming and pathologizing fringy concepts or people who had had non-ordinary experiences. And I will say I don't think I, at that point, was prepared enough to validate them as much as I would have liked to. So I think the next 10 years have been spent inadvertently validating those who do live on the fridge. And that is, I feel like that's part of my mission. So that has looked like hosting calls about sacred geometry. I teach people how to draw sacred geometry. And that led to, it was a whole, working with sacred geometry was a whole evolutionary process of my expansion, but also helping those who were wanting their own personal expansion. And everything I teach, I've learned, everything I teach is really about how do we tap into our multidimensionality? How do we tap into who we are and these amazing beings that are so much more than this 3D. And so the sacred geometry led me to crop circles and exploring the advanced intelligence that they contain for our activation of who we really are. And then the crop circles led me to the circle makers. And so I work a lot with advanced civilizations and galactic families, star nations, Arcturians, Pleiadians, Sirians, Andromedans, you name it. I love to communicate how much support we have from off planet communities. And I believe that the more I tap into that, the stronger I am to be here and help and do whatever I came to do here. Anyway, it's obviously I could go on. There's a lot going on in terms of purpose, place, and why. And yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up with, to me, tapping into our multidimensionality, our extra sensory, our true capacity. That's what I'm here for. That's what part of this conversation is in my mind of, look, we're so much more. We're really here for important reasons, and let's remember. Let's remember because it's vital, like for our sanity and for others through whatever's coming. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
great, beautiful. Yeah, talk about remembering. I think that's a big part of our conversation that we've been having recently is, there's such a weight from the world and what's going on right now. And it's easy to get a little bogged under and what's happening and tracking it from higher vantage points, but also tracking it from just the mundane and plugging in enough to know how to navigate it right now. Um, and also it's heavy when you see what's playing out and there's some heavy agendas at play, and so sometimes it can take a little bit to assimilate that before kind of coming back to the, oh yeah, right, of course this is how it plays out. And I've been teaching for Drumbelow, and Drumbelow talks about the Hopi prophecy and all the traditions that talk about the shift into the fourth dimension that we are at the cusp of. And so maybe that's a good place to start the conversation, just like at this place that we're at currently. And it gets darkest before the dawn, and things might get worse before they get better. And so we're seeing that sort of play out now. And there's different traditions that talk about what's playing out at this time and what could be playing out. You have the Christian traditions that have their own version of, the rapture and the second coming of Jesus, and how do you dissect that to translate that into words, if you're not a Christian, that makes sense to you, right? Is the Christ consciousness, is the light, the God consciousness energy, coming to us and shifting people who are ready to shift. And then you have the Hopi prophecies talking about the 3 days of darkness and going in, and everything that is not natural dissolving completely. And that's why these Native Americans have built kivas underground to protect themselves at this time when everything falls apart, everything man-made. And then you go in and you go into the sacred space of your heart, you activate your Merkaba, and you just ride through the 3 days of darkness, and you wake up in the new earth, right? And so we see this, in, ascension is so talked about in all kinds of metaphysical circles. And and I think that a lot of us who are tracking this see that we're in it now. We are in a process now, currently, that is meaning game on, and it's time, and we're going into it. And so I know for myself, I've seen it get darker, and I see trajectories playing out in the way they are now. When you take them logically, they seem like they're going to play out pretty
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
And I myself have gone through this journey of having to come to peace with that. Like, okay, if I go linear and I go on the timeline that I'm on right now, can I be at peace with the fact that I just might be here as a volunteer to plant some seeds of awakening or light or love, and it might get darker and darker and darker. And then that might just be the end of my life. And I don't see things flip to the new earth, or to we're living in paradise and all of us are growing food on the land and everyone's evolved and enlightened. And like, it's like, can I make peace with that? Because it sure looks like it's going pretty dark. And be at peace that, like, I might just be here to plant seeds, that maybe it isn't time for that big awakening to happen, and that might be generations down the road. And I kind of went through this journey, this sad journey of kind of coming to peace with that. And once I came to peace with it, uh, I started to have new remembrances and reminders that something actually big may be coming. So you want to jump in and say anything?
Yeah. Um, yeah, just a little bit about that dark place. Those are the rabbit holes. They can really, when you start to explore some of the agendas behind what's going on, the forces seem so strong. And I just kind of, I'm like, well, what? Even if I'm here to anchor the light, like, is that, maybe that's exactly what you're saying. Maybe that's what I'm here for. and I might not be a part of the party. And just as you were saying, coming to terms with, and I want to say, like the last couple weeks, it's been really intensified. That exploration um, feels like inescapable. Like we're looking around, we're looking at not only a pandemic of physical impact, but a pandemic of fear. That really, that's the thing. Because the underpinning is fear, you can see that it could take humanity anywhere because we're so manipulatable in a state of fear. And we've seen that before. Not only have we seen it on this planet within the last century, we've seen it on other planets. And if you're a being that, would identify as a starseed or a light worker, in my paradigm, you've seen this before on other planets. And we've shown up to do the same thing. And we are of service in a shift from fear, from density into the light, into a heart-centered consciousness, into unity consciousness, around kind of somewhere in our psyche knowing that that's what we're here for. It's like, what the fuck, this is way too big a task. There's not enough of us. The darkness is, it's really yeah, I went down some dark holes recently because when you start to look into straight up vaccines, the impact of nanotech, the impact of our environments, it seems like a multi tiered assault. And it's very easy for me to get burdened and not be able to see possibly how we could do it. And so that was the excitement. Oh, this is how it could happen, like this kind of unforeseen, like we don't have any frame of reference for an intervention of that scale.
You're unfrozen, so just go back a sentence if you would.
Oh, did I? Okay. Feeling so burdened by all of the information that feels so heavy to not be able to see an intervention that could work, to not have a framework for what could tackle that the large, the all encompassing, it's global, it's planetary. And so that's what our excitement was um, coming across this information that validated previous information and of this idea. And just briefly to set it up, so Viola had, and I'll hand it over to run into the. You ran into a person who started talking about this potential experience for humanity,
Go
and
ahead.
then the next day I found this video that validated.
So, I've been coming to terms with that idea of like, okay, can I be okay if it doesn't get brighter in my lifetime, and that this is the storyline as it plays out. On a bigger level, I trust everything's unfolding perfectly. There's no emergency going on, and yet, we're here to support and play a role. And what if this arc of going dark and whatever's gonna play out in the next few years, gets really dark, and the dark appears to be winning in a way, its agenda. And can I come to peace with that? And I was just at a gathering last weekend and having a conversation with a galactic brother and mentioned that, and he reminded me, he's like, yeah, but what about, the event that happened in the 1800s that was like that solar flare that wiped out all the electronics on the earth, that could happen at any given moment as well. And that could shift everything in a blink of an eye. And I went, oh, yeah, of course. I know this. I know that this is possible, right? Drumbelow himself says that, like, that we have probably less than 10 years here, like that there's a shift coming. And all the traditions talk about this shift that could be coming. That is what maybe the Hopi call that 3 days of darkness shifting into the fourth dimension, or the ascension, or the second coming of Christ, right? Because really, what is the Christ is not a person. I just personally don't like to put any sort of personality or types on the energy of God. To me, it's all energy, and it's all light and love, and that love, light, energy, if it inhabits you, that is being a Christed one, that is accepting Christ into your heart, right? So even in the Bible, we see this about the second coming, and if you've accepted Christ into your heart, you can shift when this energy comes, right? And so I was starting to see that, of course, that's a possibility. it doesn't make any sense from a linear place, from the vantage point we have now with these blinders on that we agree to have when we come into this third dimension, that anything like that could happen. If you just look linearly, it's going dark. However,
Right.
the sun is unfuckwithable.
Our new term, right?
Oh my God, I just look at that sun and was like, ah, totally unfuckwithable. And it's just so pure and it's so powerful. And Drumbolo will even say that, this ascension that we're going into, it is the upgrades coming from the sun, the solar flares, that inspire, that are transmuted to the earth, that then inspire our DNA to keep shifting, that we keep evolving. And so we know that big surges happen. And if something is going to come from the sun, and it hits the earth, it could change everything in a split second. And when I remembered that, I went, aha, of course. I had to bog myself out of the depths a little bit to remember I did come for the party. I did. Well, so many of us are here for this big shift. And maybe it is a bigger arc, but I think to also remember to let in the possibility that it could be something that happens at any given moment, at any time. And all of us are sort of boots on the ground here to help that shift. And as soon as we came to that, like, as soon as I said that, I did have a shift of just like, all right, yeah, remember, I know this, like that's a possibility. I shared that with you a couple days earlier on the phone.
Right.
Take it over.
Right. It's the remembering. It's totally the remembering, right? And the thing about a solar flash is that it fits what I don't want to overuse common day vernacular, but like it ticks every box, right? Like anything that we see as problematic, oh, solar flash would help with that, would really. It fits with all of the indigenous traditions and all of the prophecies. It fits with teachers that have said this, Drunvalo, or who was the other one we were talking about? Sasha,
Oh yeah, even
like,
Stone recently, I heard him mention, oh no, something's totally going to come. That's going to
right,
be that event that's going to shift it. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's some people who are tapped into
right,
this train of
right,
thought. Yeah.
right. And that's one of the things for me that anchors something is when I see people across time, teachers, indigenous prophecies, when it all starts to line up, ticking every box, right? And so part of my process is I tune into the other levels of information. Oh, it looks like I might have froze. Did I freeze?
No, you didn't.
Okay, great. Channeled information from other, nations, other star nations. And then this woman on the video, she is a beyond quantum technique. So shit, beyond quantum techniques, BQT. And it's a branch of quantum hypnosis healing technique, which is Dolores Cannon's developed technique that decades of pioneer work with hypnosis. And she began to notice this pattern. I mean, it was just all pervasive. So many people talked about this kind of archetypal galactic journey where people were coming from other places to be of service to the planet at this time, and that they were called volunteers. And she talked about the three waves of volunteers. And I don't know, did we decide we're the second wave? Because, the first wave were really the pioneers who were doing it on their own. And then we're the second wave, which is part of like, oh, there's still a third wave. I don't know, maybe we're the third wave. But yesterday, the video is from a woman recounting her facilitation of a BQT hypnosis session with someone. And she was compelled to make the video because she was just hearing more and more people say the exact same thing about what's happening now. So to me, that's just another avenue of confirmation. And, I look for validation of what I know to be true in terms of like, we've come down from our starships to help intervene with the planetary ascension. I've called myself a transition specialist for a long time, not knowing what that meant. The video was just one avenue of many suggesting that this is what's coming. And so that's when I really start to listen. And And I don't, do we want to just play the clip? It was just like a couple minutes
Yeah,
of
I think so. I think we're ready. That's kind of like our conversation that we had had, and then you called me yesterday. You're like, "Oh my God, you've just got to see this clip," and then our conversation just sort of flew off from there. So let's play the clip now. I'm going to share screen, and we will play this clip from this woman's session, who she said she's had so many sessions like this that are saying the exact same thing.
Oh, her name is what? Alison Co. Is her name? What do we give her name? Is it up there? Alison Co.
I don't see it. Maybe you
Okay.
see it.
I know you guys anchored the light, but what happened then? There was a big catalyst, an avalanche of light that hit the planet. We were helping, and other people were helping. I feel like it got to a breaking point finally, and the earth was inundated with this light, and this was the start, the beginning. And what happened to people when this avalanche of light hit the earth? Can you go to that point and look? Were they able to see the light as well as feel it? I see people walking, going about their lives, and all of a sudden, it's like a flash. The light comes down from above and hits everybody. These beams are hitting these people. They stop in their tracks and they're hit with these beams of light, and it's like a huge shock. They stop what they're doing. Some of them fall to the ground. Some of them stay standing, but it's like a convulsion. Like some people go into convulsions and they can't handle the light, and others are able to just sit down and be in it. It's so sudden. It's kind of chaotic. People didn't expect it. It's like they're in shock. They're all getting hit all at once, and it stops them in their tracks, and it stops everything.
I just want to interject just in case it wasn't clear. She's reading a transcript from the hypnosis session that she did with a client. So she's reading her questions to the client and then the client's responses while they're under deep hypnosis.
And what happens next? I'm seeing a lot of people that need help. I'm getting that it was a solar flash. We got hit with too much light all at once. And there's a lot of people in shock. A lot of people are on the ground and they need help. They need help understanding. They need help handling the light. And I'm running around from person to person on the ground and then kind of consoling them, touching them, telling them it's okay. I see other people doing the same thing. How did these people react when they were told it's okay? What happens to them? They don't know what to think because they're kind of in a different state of mind. Some of them aren't even conscious. They're not aware of what's going on. Some of them are convulsing, but they're aware of what's happening, but they're not in their mind. They're somewhere else. But I'm just going to them, touching them, soothing them. It's helping them in a way. It's helping them relax. It's not going to help their bodies calm down. They're going to keep convulsing, but it's helping their minds find some semblance of peace. I feel like a paramedic, this great explosion that's happened, and it's knocked a lot of people to the ground, and I'm going from person to person. I feel like I've got some sort of medic kit, but it's not a physical kit. But I feel like I have the tools and I know what to do, and I'm touching these people on the forehead and it's soothing them. And there's other people doing the same thing. I feel other light workers running around and doing what I'm doing. And are you able to tell when this is actually taking place? When does this seem to be occurring? Well, it occurred in the middle of the day, and I don't feel like it's cold. I feel like it's a summer day, sometime in the summer, maybe July. It doesn't feel like fall. It doesn't feel like winter. It feels like summer. And how about your family? How did they react?
You want to stop it there?
Yeah, I think so. That seems great. And I mean, we'll put the link. We'll put the link somewhere accessible, but it's so worth, the whole video.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure. I should go to the video if I can get to it and at least say the name of it.
yeah.
I'm on
Oh, we just
Clubhouse
saw
right
it.
here. I don't quite know how to get out of it right now, so
I do. No, I've got it pretty easy because I was watching it. It's so her name is Alison Co, which is COE, And the title is Disclosure, Chaos, Ships, Avalanche of Light, BQH, Audio Only. Right. So she's, reading a confidential session that she had with somebody.
Great. So we
Yeah.
heard that. Nadi played that for me yesterday, and I was just like, oh, yes, of course. That feels right. That feels like almost a remembering. It's like that's why we're all here. Yes, it doesn't play out linearly where it makes sense that something could shift to be the new earth in any new given time, but this event, it's the event, it's the ascension, it's this whole thing, whatever tradition you're looking at the lens through, points to something big happening. And it filled me with such a sense of relief that I don't need to figure this shit out. I don't need to find a way out of this. Yes, it is a chess game right now, and I still have to navigate what feels like attacks on all fronts just to kind of survive a little. Like, do I want to move out of the city? Do I want to do this? Or do I want to navigate my reality? But that it takes the stress away completely. We're going to be fine. Us light workers are going to be fine if you can just stay in your heart and say no to fear, right? Because once you're in fear, then you're controllable. And then it doesn't matter if you're a light worker or not. If you buy into any of the story, then you can be sucked in, right? But if you just say, no, thank you, I'm going to stay in my heart, I'm not going to buy into any of what they're dishing out, then you are available to receive the guidance of how to maneuver and how to be safe and how to be in service and play your game here. So I think the biggest secret is staying out of fear, and it's hard because we're in the thick of it right now. And
No,
even
we're not.
we've gone through spins over the last few weeks of
No,
getting completely caught up in it, right?
we're not in the thick of it. That's part of, okay, well, I mean, it's going to get thicker. That's what I really mean. And
Right.
I don't want to jump in, but that was, there's a lot more information coming in her video. And yeah, you're there. Okay. It's just to jump in. She tries to get a time. She tries to get nail down the time on it. And in all the other realms, 3D time, time is unique to the third dimension. And so I never trust time estimates, but she actually did talk about July of 2022. And so I jump in with that because it sounds like it's going to get pretty worse. And so, just like you were saying, she says on the video, everybody says like meditation, daily practice, all of the tools that we all have. It's just going to get more and more essential because that's staying out of
It's
fear.
going to
Anyway,
get
yeah.
worse and worse until it flips. And Drumbala will say that the duality definitely gets more extreme before the unity. And so as duality and the dark gets darker and stronger, the more we can balance that duality with staying in our hearts and staying in the light, but also not spiritually bypassing. This isn't about that at all for sure, because looking at the reality, tracking the reality, being on top of it also feels important to me. I'm not of like, la, 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 it's all light and love. And if we don't pay any attention to it and just hold the higher frequency, we'll be fine. Somehow we are in duality, and it feels important to be awake, aware, tracking what's going on, and then upgrading from there. So, recently I had the situation where I was, I have felt invincible for years. I'm in my Merkaba, and I've activated this field of light. I teach people how to activate this field of light. I feel like I a galactic superhero, and I can go into any realm and nothing can touch me. No entities can get in, right? I'm just like, and I feel solid. And then lo and behold, I'm starting to get effects from being around people that are shedding spike proteins or being susceptible and not feeling so well. And it was a bit of a spin for me. And it was happening before that information came out. It was happening, and then I pieced it together later what was happening. And I was like, how could this even happen? Like, I am an invincible superhero, right? And it made me kind of feel weird for a spell. And then when I realized that it's because this is not stagnant, it is accelerating. So as the dial gets turned and the attacks or the energy or the agenda continues to get more extreme, I have to also keep raising my vibration to balance the polarity. So the level of Merkaba activation that I had going on before in protection wasn't going to cut it now. It's like it's fluid, and I have to keep rising. It's like, oh, okay, next level achieve. Now let's activate here. Next level achieve, activate here. Like everything points the way. We can choose to be empowered by everything, and yet you have to consciously choose it and create it. And if I just hung out stagnant and just went la la la, everything's going to be fine, then I'm not going to get anywhere, because I won't keep tracking what's actually going on and keep raising my vibration to go there. So that feels like what time it is. It's time to be on top of it with my health, with my spiritual practice, with tuning into that inner energy that is like what some people might call God or whatever, but it is just like light and love. And as soon as I close my eyes, it is there. It is waiting for me. It is alive. And I get so distracted in all these thoughts of what's going on in the world that sometimes I forget numerous times through the day to stop and drop in, get into my heart and be there. So I feel super inspired right now to
Yeah.
remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think just to bookmark, I think it'd be great to talk a little bit about roots, a little bit about diets, a little bit about the physical, the importance of physical, self-care in the face of everything that's coming. But just to add to what you're saying in terms of staying positive and high vibe. My understanding from the video is, in the process of getting worse, the deal is we're losing friends, we're losing family, we're losing people that we considered our support, that we considered like-minded. It's a real bifurcation, and it's a little surprising and heartbreaking. I know all of us have had that experience where you thought somebody was on board with a certain perspective, and all of a sudden there's not a resonance anymore because they've made a decision. It just feels so different from like almost a core value, or um, maybe deeply it feels like, oh, you've moved away from a purpose, from a shared purpose. Like I thought being a light worker meant that we're here and we hold this high vibration, and we do everything we can to stay in our sovereignty, to stay an organic being. And one of the things the video talked about is that no matter what choice we're making, all of us came here at this time to be a part of the shift, right? And sometimes it looks like making a decision for, an medical intervention that's being recommended. And sometimes it looks like organic sovereignty. And I really appreciated that, to hold the perspective that we are all playing our part. And I forget that sometimes. And I do. I get judgmental, and I think, it looks like they're buying into fear, but it's just perfect. It's totally just perfect. And I wanna add to that by talking about the ships, because she goes into the ships. But did you wanna? Was there anything else to like how? Did,
I want to add into just what you just said about how, yeah, everyone's playing their part, right? How getting out of that, there are no victims. There are no victims here, and everyone is playing out their experience of duality in exactly the way that they decided to, whether consciously or unconsciously, before they came into this life. And so, whatever choices people make about however to navigate what's going on currently in the world is for them, is perfect. And even when it's surprising, when a person goes in a direction that we didn't think they would, or whatever side you're on, that just trusting that, and everyone's playing their parts. And so yeah, I have to remind myself of that too sometimes.
yeah. And I think that's why we made the video, is because it's really important to find your people. I mean, it always has been, but it's really more important to part of what this video did was to remember our higher purpose, and to know that no matter what it looks like in the world, no matter how bad it's falling apart, we did come here. We do have a purpose. We are of service. It's vital. And we're going to be super vital when that flash happens. I mean, what she talks about, and I don't want to do spoiler alert, but there is some significance to sharing a little bit more about it, is that it's fascinating because when he's in this state, he sees everything from such a soul perspective that he's not saying that people die. He only sees them as though they are in another world. Their consciousness has gone to another world. Their body is still here. He does say that some people have left. But he also talks about the fact that all of us, as starseeds and lightworkers, we came here from other places. And in order to get here, we are on ships, right? That he has the perspective that we're almost the avatar, and that our true consciousness is on the ships. And he doesn't specify any kind of civilization that we're with. but he talks about, right, there's a departure point right now in the video. So like not everybody's going to share that perspective, I know, but to explain this aspect that he's tapped into in his subconscious state, that we've all come down, that we are, like those of us who've been doing our practices, those of us who know how to manage our energetics, we are going to be able to ride out the flash, whereas it's going to level most people, right? And what'll happen, I'll leave, please do check out the video for the details of like who stays, who goes, whatever, and who's here in almost a sleep state. It's really fascinating. It's really cool information. But let's see, I think there was one important detail. Did you have anything to jump in on while I remember this detail?
Yeah, I think that, and also we're not saying that this is what's going to happen just because one person said it in a video, but there's many people who are saying it, and many traditions that give a version of this, that it makes sense to allow this into your realm of possibility for what direction reality could be headed and
Right.
what the timelines are all about. And the timelines are just so slippery lately, and who knows what, but just sort of tracking that, and just know that it's bigger than this. It's bigger than whatever's playing out here, and that we are here for that, and just to anchor it. And that the whole idea that the vibration is so high that comes in that not everybody's body or being or spirit is going to be able to process it and shift. That also ties into lots of other traditions where, like the Hopi say, if anything that's not natural will collapse.
Right.
Um,
And we also remembered the rapture,
right.
right? Like there is
Only people who've accepted Jesus Christ, according to that tradition, right, uh, are allowed to ascend with Jesus, right? But translate that however you will. But the Christ consciousness energy of like the God consciousness energy, if you've got that running through you, then you can process the shift. Take that out of metaphysics just to like a solar flare is coming. Do you have the surge protector installed to be able to process that level of a jolt that you can not fry your circuits? And so that's interesting, and it's also interesting without going down this direction too much, but just to give it a little nod about being an organic, natural person that hasn't necessarily modified their DNA or RNA in strange ways. That who knows what that does? Does that make you an organic person or not anymore? And what will that do when something like this is coming to upgrade organic structures? Just something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know my own frame is of the galactic one, but I thought it was so fascinating when, to tie in this like massive Judeo-Christian perspective of the rapture. But this is not new, in all of the prophecies. So yeah, it's a little video that we're referencing, but it just validated so much previous information. And she did give a timeline. She did actually give a date, which who knows about, right? And you had mentioned timelines are accelerating. I know, but it's the only reason it's important is because it's gonna get denser, but it might not be dense for too long. It was like, oh, this is hopeful. Oh, this is potentially next year, right? This is potentially summer, July, August. The long days of summer. So I don't want to cling to that, right? But it helps me to say, oh, we might not be in this for too long. It's rough, so that helps. And
As it gets darker and darker and darker,
yeah,
there's a flip to that when it gets to a certain degree of darkness, and it's not that that's going to just swallow us up whole, and then we're just going to be in a fucked up totalitarian reality. Like there's
yeah,
there's a place where it flips, and
yeah. And the other thing is that part of why I latch onto a date a little bit is that it sounds like it gets really bad. And she associated it with disclosure, basically more and more information coming out about the underlying agenda and part of how humanity's been fucked with intentionally. Sorry. It's, I don't want to say as is, but information comes out, people get angry, and as a result, things get rough. So, um, so that being said, you had mentioned the issue of, we both mentioned the issue of organic versus uh, physical bodies that have been manipulated. And one of the things is a lot of people have been, I would say, coerced, socially pressured, and in order to,
participate.
participate. And one of the things that, sort of simultaneously you discovered is you have someone very close to you who actually is developing ways to either reverse, I don't know if you want to say a little bit about it. And I only bring that up because there's possibly ways to undo. You're not sentenced, right? Like there's things if you
Yeah.
start to realize
If
that you
you,
want to change,
it's
you're not sentenced, right?
It's true. If you've done treatments that you change your mind and decide are maybe not weren't a good choice, or you're not feeling well after, and you're having symptoms, then there are things you can do to help detox that. And who knows how much it takes on, but you can at least detox the physical element. And if you're around people who've done treatments and you're not feeling well, there's a product I have found that has helped me immensely. I actually was having some really extreme symptoms, and I got myself on a zeolite based product called Cleanslate from a company called Root. And it's a heavy metal detoxer based from a natural crystal called cliptolillinite. I'm not quite saying it right. And a zeolite base. And so each drop, it's like a tincture, and you put a couple drops under the tongue twice a day, and you gradually build up till you're taking 8 to 10 twice a day. So it's just a very small amount, but each drop is like thousands of little magnets that detox heavy metals. And when you get the heavy metals out of your body, then your natural immune system comes online and can actually process things more. And if there are heavy metals in some treatments that people get, this can also help to pull that out. And it has also, as a side note, helped me with my inflammation, my headaches. I'm sleeping way better, and I don't have the symptoms being around people anymore who've had treatments that don't agree with my body. And so I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm doing a couple other things like some pine pollen and some essential oils, but the most profound thing has been this product called Cleanslate by the Root Company.
Like product endorsement at this point.
I know, but that's been the
Yeah.
thing that I mean, I can't, I'm shouting it from the rooftops, and it's helping so many of my friends. And I didn't
There's
even
a lot of things
talk
though.
about that. You wanted to talk about that today, but um,
In the general, category of like, it's never too late. We can do all that we know how to do. We can use all the tools. We can detox, and there is a fundamental aspect of vibration. And I really believe that this whole issue is vibration, and everything is a choice point of are you going to choose love? Are you going to choose fear?
right,
So whether it's roots, whether it's diet, whether it's deep spiritual transformation, our bodies are frequency, our bodies are vibration, and so it's never too late.
right.
And
Because if
yeah,
you raise your vibration, like we were talking about before, like the energy gets bigger, and then if we keep raising up and raising up and raising up, we're going to keep matching it where then we're vibrating higher. And if you clean out your body, clean out your spirit, and you're vibrating higher, then whatever's going on down here in the muck, is going to have to entrain to you because you're vibrating higher. But if you're down here and you're toxic and you got a bunch of stuff going on, then you're going to entrain to the muck and the mire, and it will control you. And so you've got to keep clearing it out, and there are ways to do it. So
so all is not lost. It's a message, right? And I think we want to move towards wrapping up because well, there'll be another one, and I mean that's my thought, unless there other thoughts are coming in for
yeah,
you. But that was really the point of the video was those of us, likely if you're watching this, those of us who have known for a long time that we are here for the transition, that we are here in service for humanity's evolution, then it's just becoming more and more vital to keep our energy high and anchor that. I mean, she just validated that thing that we all know. We're here, we're anchoring the light, we're anchoring the shift to a higher vibration. And one of the things from the video, and we hear this from teachers, we hear this from, prophecies from all sorts of traditions, it's all going to be okay. Like from a large scale perspective, it really is okay, no matter what it looks like going on. And if we can hold that, you know, I think that was part of why the video just helped so much. Like, it is going to be okay.
yeah,
We know why we're here. We don't have to figure it out. And I think you and I just wanted to share that we
yeah,
experienced that message. And I want that for all of us. Like, I want us to know we're doing it right. We're doing a good job and it's going to be okay.
yeah. Yeah, I had a sense of relief in the past day, just kind of remembering that, like, oh, right, everything is unfolding perfectly. There's no emergency going on. It's bigger than us. And I'm just here to anchor in some frequencies and just keep myself safe and, like, just trust that it's playing itself out. And we're here. We all, so many of us know it, that we're here for something big. And, and just trust it and just stay clean and clear so that when the big happens, we can really be in service in the way that we came here to be. You know, the service that we're in may have not even started to happen yet. It might
Oh,
be after that, right? It
no,
might.
that's not true. No, no, no. Sorry, we've totally been of service. I can't deal with the fact that we haven't. Or
That we have been, but it like the main thing of it might be for that shift,
yeah,
that
okay.
pivotal time,
Mm,
and picking up the pieces and helping people on the other side, to come online to. And in the meantime, yeah, you're helping to awaken those who are part of that team, and we're helping each other come online, so that we can be in service in those ways now and also in the future. And just remembering that every soul is playing out their journey as best they can for their own dance through duality. I mean, this is such a dualistic realm, and people come here to play out all sorts of karmas and dharmas and experiences. And so trusting that each person is playing it out, it's like, yeah, we all had to maybe move through those waves of heartbreak a little bit,
yeah,
seeing what's playing out over the last few months and what could play out over the next couple of years, but just trusting that everyone is doing their journey.
yeah. And then we're doing it just right, and we'll know what to do. And part of that'll be like maybe making more videos. And the next time we come across a juicy piece of information that seems to help, we'll do one of these and put it out there to
Mm.
keep validating, what we all know we're doing and why we're here.
I have a little juicy piece of information that I like to share, sort of a little closing offering. I've spent a lot of time over the last year or so, watching a lot of videos, doing a lot of research, tracking what's going on in ways that aren't easily accessible to the mainstream. And so it's a lot to track. And I found that when I get in bed at night, if I shut off the world, like it has a power switch, just like my laptop. Like I'll shut the laptop down, at some point earlier than and when I get in bed, I just have this little button that in my mind, I just press it and I shut off the world. It's done. And for the day, I don't need it anymore for the rest of the night. And it's so liberating when I shut that off. That's when that energy comes and I realize is right there. And I'm filled with bliss and I'm filled with love. And it's right there as soon as I shut off the world. And that's been a really sweet little practice of just that you might want to try. Just power button off the world before you at night, for a little while before going under can be a nice relief. As almost like an equivalent of getting out to nature without getting out to nature.
Perfect. So, all right. So, bye for now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we'll do this again. I'm sure we can invite other cosmic friends in to chat, and we'll have updates to do. If this is a benefit to anyone, let us know, and then we can be inspired to share these kind of conversations in the future. Simply because it's such a boon for us to have each other and some others, to talk to in this way. And so some people maybe don't have that, and it can benefit just kind of hearing other people talking about the things you would like to be talking about if you only had someone to talk about them with.
Right. Right. And you and I both do that in our offerings on a regular basis. You do that. And, I don't know if the sound baths, well, I don't know what it is, but what the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshops where people like minded can be together. And then I host my classes and like regularly, and we can put our information in the chat or no, in the box somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So in closing, I do offer these Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshops online through Zoom for a 4-day workshop. And so for wherever you are in the world, you can plug in with me for 4 days and get all the tools you might need to walk your path in sovereignty and not needing anything outside of yourself by, getting these tools to walk in your toolbox, like activating your Merkaba, connecting with your higher self. And you also do online classes as well. So we'll
Mine
put.
are little 2 hour drop in reminders and, oh yeah, not alone. Right. So we live this, we walk this.
Yeah, and also if you want to hear anything more about the zeolite based root product, you can message either one of us and go to the rootbrands.com, and my referral code is Viola Rose, and I think you're taking it now too, and you probably have a referral code you can mention, but
Yeah, probably just Nadi Hana, right? It's the same. Yeah.
yeah. Get some of that, and then we'll be back with more cosmic chit chat when it's aligned to do so.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Viola.
Have a beautiful experience out there. Happy apocalypse, everyone.
Right. And that's a wrap.